hand over to you on a Korean or Asian perspective on green growth. So please.
One remark before you reset the timer. If I heard you correctly, you mentioned two Koreans, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and World Bank Jim Kim, as two of the Koreans who are ruling the world. And I would like to propose to add a third one, which is Psy, the inventor of the horse dance, who is ruling the rapper's world. But anyway, this synopsis on the theme of the session proposes to rethink the conventional concepts of development and proposes to discuss green growth as such a new concept. I propose to do exactly that. And I will begin by presenting Korean perception of what green growth is about. And here I'm going to make the point that green growth provides the right narrative that Hume Keller was looking for yesterday in influencing and motivating the politicians to act. And then secondly, I will argue that to pursue green growth at the global scale, we need a global architecture for green growth. Yesterday, Catherine Richardson mentioned that we are coping with the global problems, but we don't have a global institution to do that. But I argue that this global architecture, which is now emerging, which consists of sets of arrangements which encourage green growth pursuit by developing countries, would play the role of that global institution that Richardson, Catherine, was looking for. Now, Korea became the first country to formally launch green growth as its new paradigm for sustainable development when President Lee Myung-bak declared low-carbon green growth to be the main pillar of Korea's new development vision in his speech 4 years ago, marking the 60th anniversary of the Republic. Now, Korea's green growth strategy is comprehensive in scope, covering all sectors of the economy and long-term in approaching a green growth. And Korea's green growth strategy goes beyond the realm of environmental or energy policies. And this is shown by the content of the National Green Growth Strategy, which is a long-term policy, a blueprint for the period to 2050, as well as the 5-year plan for its annual implementation. And the comprehensiveness of the green growth policies also shows up in the composition of the Presidential Committee on Green Growth, which consists of the Prime Minister and 13 ministers, as well as up to 36 private sector experts. The National Green Growth Strategy proposes the goal of Korea rising as one of 5 ranking green economies by year 2050. And for this vision, it establishes 3 strategic objectives and 10 policy directions, followed by 50 specific policy tasks. As such, Korea's green growth strategy may be shown to consist of 3 green transformations. First, infrastructural green transformation, where infrastructure refers to the institutional as well as the physical ones. And this would be towards a carbon-free, climate-resilient society, and the necessary measures include launching the emission reduction mechanism, and Korea is preparing to launch an ETS by January 2015. And also this requires planning, transformation of the national energy system, and Korea's current plan is to reduce the share of fossil fuels in primary energy mix from 83% 2007 to 61% 2030. And this would also call for enhancing the resilience to climate change, consisting of various measures to adapt to climate change. Now, the second green transformation would be one of way of living transformation towards sustainable life patterns with rising quality of living for all citizens as a result. And this would include, among other things, greening the territorial land uses and urban development patterns. And the third transformation would be industrial green transformation towards an ever greener industrial structure and green tech industries as a new growth engine. And this would include investing in development and commercialization of clean or green technologies as a new growth engine, seeking to secure international competitiveness, for example, in 27 main green technologies. This would also include deploying green technologies throughout the industrial sector to replace its entire energy base with the renewables while improving energy efficiency, as well as enhancing resource productivity with the 3R and zero waste policies. And this shows the possible vision of a third industrial revolution consisting of energy revolution and resource revolution. And the key to green industrial transformation here is to promote green innovation and industrial restructuring. And three green transformations which make up Korea's green growth strategy are mutually supportive. Each facilitates as well as needs the other two. And the primary and ultimate driver of the green transformation or green growth of the Korean economy is the goal of climate change mitigation. And it is this goal which drives the infrastructural green transformation, the way of living transformation, and the industrial green transformation. And the ultimate driver of green innovation in particular is the greenhouse gas emission reduction goal and target. Now, with 4 years of vigorous efforts at green growth dynamism has taken root in Korea. And public and political support for green growth remains high, and this ensures the continuity of the green growth strategy into the future. And Korea's green growth faces three specific challenges, and I will skip this part in the interest of time. Now, as a response to global environmental and ecological crisis, green growth is meant to be a new paradigm for global sustainable development. And at this conference yesterday and this morning, we have lamented the disconnect between climate change science and the policies to combat those challenges. And we try to identify its causes and remedies. One cause of such disconnect, which has not been mentioned, is the popular perception that climate change mitigation or greenhouse gas emission reduction is costly. And this makes the emission reduction a reluctant undertaking at best. Now, the same perception also causes the collective action problem in trying to mobilize global participation in the mitigation efforts, as well as the zero-sum view, or what President Lee Myung-bak called you-first approach to the emission reduction negotiations, dooming the global negotiations to a deadlock. The beauty in the green growth paradigm is its view of climate change actions, in particular emission reduction, as the driver of growth, as in green growth. And in this framework, climate change mitigation as part of green growth policies promises the benefit of growth, which will by far outweigh the cost of mitigation, provided that green growth is promoted in the right way. And from this perspective, a universal, if not global shift to green growth strategies will encourage and facilitate adoption of or commitment to climate change actions. And in this sense, green growth constitutes a bottom-up approach to a global deal on greenhouse gas emission reduction. And it is with this view that Korea adopted its mitigation target of 30% relative to the baseline by 2020 as a unilateral target, and that at the COP15 in Copenhagen, President Lee declared this target to be Korea's voluntary international political commitment. And now I have run out of my time, so let me see what I can save here. Now, we, however, have to see and understand that there are practical problems which make developing countries unwilling to embrace the green growth paradigm. They are, in general, handicapped in pursuing green growth on their own because they lack the necessary capacity to pursue green growth. In their statement released in Los Cabos, the G20 summit recognized this and referred to the need for the developing countries to have access to, quote, institutions and mechanisms that can facilitate knowledge sharing, resource mobilization, and building technical and institutional capacity to design and implement inclusive green growth strategies and policies. I propose to refer to these institutions and mechanisms as global architecture for green growth, and the world needs to build such an architecture in order to promote a global shift to green growth, and doing so would facilitate the global climate change negotiations and unlock the path to sustainable development. Now, I'm pleased to observe that a global architecture for green growth has begun to emerge in recent years. And that Korean government has contributed to this development with various international initiatives. Now, I will skip this part about Korea's initiatives, but conclude with the last page, Johan, please. And this, there are 4 elements which are considered to be emerging main pillars of the global architecture for green growth. One is the launching of the Global Green Growth Institute as an international organization, which was promoted by the Korean government and which took place on the 18th of this month, just last week, in Seoul. And this is expected to serve as the global pillar for knowledge sharing on green growth. And then there is the COP to UNFCCC has launched the Green Climate Fund. The board of this fund reached the decision last Saturday, to locate Green Climate Fund in Korea. And this decision, the launching of a Green Climate Fund, I think, marks a major watershed in providing the necessary financial resources for the developing countries. And thirdly, UNFCCC has launched the Climate Technology Center Network by an agreement in Cancun. And Korea launched the Green Technology Center of Korea in order to collaborate with this network and to help facilitate and strengthen cooperation among all institutes on green technologies with focus on the need of the developing countries. And finally, there is many international economic organizations and institutions, including this IIASA, are already conducting the capacity building programs for climate change actions and green growth in developing countries. And typically, these programs take the form of education and training programs, that is human capacity building, and this, I suppose, constitute the global architecture for capacity building support. And my government, Republic of Korea, believes that green growth is the very narrative that is necessary to bring climate change and sustainability science into collaborative partnership with the politicians and policymakers, as well as the business community. Thank you very much for tolerating my speaking too long. Thank you.